No live stream. Oh my god,
No,
that'd be brutal.
you are not built for a live stream.
No, I'm not, and I'm okay with
Mm-mm.
it. Welcome to another episode of the No Dick Pics podcast. I'm your host Max.
And I'm Christina, and we are joined today by a very special guest. We have Angela DeMarco here. Angela is a master certified life, relationship, and dating coach, a matchmaker, an author, and the co-host of the Icky Lousy Junkie podcast. So welcome to the No Dick Pics podcast.
Thanks. I'm really excited to be here. Thanks for having me, you guys.
Yeah, that's a long list of things.
That's a good intro.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
It seems like more. Seems like more than it really is, but yeah. I'm like, what do they say? Like you're the Jane of all trades, and I'm like a
Right,
master.
right. Yeah. Well, we met you through our friend Bridget. Bridget's been on our show a couple of times, but she told me a little bit about you. I'm like, oh my God, I need her on my show. I'm like, why didn't you tell me about her sooner? I need her on my show now. So thank you so much for joining us. We're really excited to have you. I've actually been looking for a dating coach to have on the show. And
Yeah,
so I'm really excited that we met and it happened
yeah.
this way.
I'm
So
excited too. Yeah, and I definitely have a lot of stories. So
yeah,
ask today
awesome.
whatever you need to know. Yeah.
Awesome. So do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, so I actually like originally how I started all of this was I was a professor of communication, and I
Okay.
worked at Joliet Junior College and Northeastern. And when I got divorced, I actually, which was 12 years ago, I actually realized that I was kind of in a manipulative and controlling relationship, and I like lost myself. And so I was reading the book "You Are a Badass." Have you ever read that book?
I've seen it. I haven't read it.
And I was like in the process, like writing my own book. So the book that you talked about, the author of Searching for Ladybugs, Finding the Magic in Your Mess. And I'm like, oh my God, my book kind of sounds like Jen's book. I could be a life coach. So I ended up becoming like a master certified health coach, life coach, and then relationship coach. And started doing, like, I started out doing couples
Mm-hmm.
workshops to teach them how to communicate, because a lot of people get divorced or whatever because their communication isn't effective. They don't know how to argue. They don't know how to listen. They don't, they've like if they've had kids and everything else, like everything else gets in the way and they've forgotten to be with each other. So
Mm-hmm.
we started doing workshops, and then the COVID happened, and I ended up getting asked to be a matchmaker. And that's how I kind of started this whole thing. So I am now a matchmaker, a dating coach, a relationship coach, a couples communication coach, an author. I also teach, I'm starting a program for teens and parents because I
That's
think
nice.
teens don't know how to have healthy relationships. And I think social media is making it even worse.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're starting a program for teens and parents so that they can communicate and learn healthy relationship skills, because
Yeah.
I think even parents don't really model healthy relationship skills.
Right.
So it's like, I don't want them to like keep the cycle going with these negative toxic relationship patterns, so if we can get them when they're teens to recognize boundary setting and stuff, that's great.
That's
And so
awesome.
yeah, so like those are all the things that I'm working on. So I just kind of fell into all of this,
Yeah.
but ended up loving it all. So I've just kind of stuck with it.
That's exciting. What a
Yeah.
fun job too. Like you're probably never bored.
It's not boring. Like it's fun. It's also very intense though, because
Yes.
you're dealing this is a heart, you're dealing with people's hearts, so people can get hurt, people get anxious,
Mm-hmm.
want it now, and so you're
Yes.
like trying to work through reality and all of that stuff. So it's a beautiful job, but it's also a tough job. Like people just think it's fun. It's like it is fun, but it's
Mm-hmm.
it's hard. It's much harder than I
Oh, I
think
can imagine.
than people think as well.
Yeah.
So, but a great job and very rewarding. So, like when we get the text messages that are like, "Oh my God, I met the person. Thank you so much. We're getting married," or something. You're like, you're just so excited. It's so great. I thrive on those kind.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's gotta be really rewarding. Like
yeah,
satisfying to be like, oh, I did that.
right. Like, oh, I helped them get real. Yeah, and
Yeah.
it's really cool. Yeah,
You are a dating coach.
yes.
So what does a dating coach do exactly? And like what services do you provide?
Yeah, good question. So, a dating coach is someone who identifies. So, a coach, I like to say, like, is a master of habit change. So, as a dating coach, I look at like dating patterns, habits that someone might have, how someone might be, like, if they have habits of pushing someone away, or maybe they don't
Mm-hmm.
believe that they're enough. And so, We start to work on confidence and, communication skills. I have a lot of people who come to me who have social anxiety. So I coach them into like, how do you have conversations with people and how do you engage with someone on a first date? So it really kind of varies. So it can go from like dating tips, like you don't know how to date at all. So I'm trying to teach you how to actually date, or I look at your habits and what you're doing when you're going on dates that might be pushing someone away. So like maybe someone they had a bad relationship. And so now everything they do, they automatically project this idea that this next person is going to do the exact same thing. So they don't close themselves off. So we look at like what they're doing to put a barrier up, and then we try to change that pattern. So we're like, okay, so this is what you're doing. What are you afraid of? Where did that come from? How are we going to shift the story because you keep pushing people away? So we try to change their patterns and their habits so that they can actually date in the right way.
Do you see that a lot?
Oh my God, all the time. Actually,
Yeah.
that's probably one of the most common things. I'd say there's two things that I see the most commonly. One is women, and this is especially for women. And this was like when I started, this was my main clientele. Females who just did not feel like they were enough. They didn't feel like they were worthy of love. And so they did not create boundaries. They accepted anything, and they just kept like attracting a narcissist or attracting people who were treating them poorly because they just wanted attention. And they kept mistaking attention for love,
That's me. Hi.
right? And I love attention. Like believe me, I get it. And I was one of these women, and I caught myself, but like, because they didn't feel like they had a right or that they were worthy, they didn't feel like they had a right to demand certain things. So they just kept putting up with a bunch of crap. And then I started noticing that men do it too.
Oh yeah.
But there are men who do the same thing, right? Like, have you seen this? Like, you guys are like, you were around a lot of single people, right?
Oh yeah.
So
men have the same things where they don't feel that they're good enough. Oh, she's going to do what everyone else does and break up with me or whatever. I think it all built off self-confidence. A lot of people have been through relationships or marriages. So like after something like that, you kind of almost have to build them up again, build that confidence up.
Like they're guarded and they've lost maybe some money. And now there's like, because you get, and I've been here, I'm divorced. I mean, you plan all these things and you have this life together and then it's gone. And then you're like, it scares you to start again because you don't want to go through that again. Right.
Yeah.
And so like a big portion of my clientele is trying to help people, especially who've been divorced, who've been hurt, who are scared to death to like get into a relationship, to help them figure out that like that was that relationship. And here's what you did that kept that going. So what are we going to do to try to eliminate that like right away? Because a lot of times they're like, I saw the signs of unhealthiness in the beginning, but I stayed too long, and I get it because people are always like looking at the potential, or like a lot of people have this idea that they can like change someone, right? You can't change someone, so like usually, and a lot of people who are like with people and then they keep going back and then they break up and they get back together and they break up, and it's always the same issues because they band-aid the problem and they never actually communicate their needs and what they want. So a lot of like these are the things that resurface consistently when I'm coaching people. And so I'm trying to help them. And really what it boils down to is I'm coaching them on communication, to become assertive, to create boundaries, to know when you need to talk to somebody and how to do it so that someone can listen to you, and like when to see the signs like that this is not good and that you probably need to break away. And that, are you staying with this person? Like, for example, I just had someone who said to me, well, this person's always been there for me. And they were trying, honestly, when they were talking to me, that person wasn't always there for them. They were just there. And so I kind of said to her, I said, are you sure he's always been there for you? Or is he just there? Because there's a difference.
Yeah, definitely.
And if
I needed you when I started dating. I mean, I figured it out, but like, I think
clientele, like is it more females than males? Is there an age range, like more middle age or?
Yeah, I mean, I have both male and female, and I've had clients, like the youngest client I ever had was 22, and the oldest client I ever had was 92.
Oh.
And that was a matching client. That was a matching.
I love a 92-year-old who's like,
oh my God,
get me out there.
He was adorable. Like, he was an adorable guy. Like, he was 92. He was full of energy. He had lost 4. Like, I'm like, are you killing all your wives? Like, what's going on? Like, but he just wanted companionship. And he's like, he was just like, you're 92. He was ridiculous. But he was a great guy. But yeah, most of my clients, though, probably 40, because I'm 51. So I think most of my clients relate with me because, like I said, I really deal with people who've been through divorce, who just are blocking themselves from healthy relationships and keep recycling bad ones, and they just jump because they don't want to deal with what they're feeling, and so they just jump because this makes them feel good for now, and then something doesn't work, so they jump to this thing because that makes them feel good for now, instead of like learning how to like stick in a relationship and just deal with your crap and communicate and be able to be like, I feel this way because, Bridget and I was talking about this in my podcast, to be able to identify like, look, this is what's happening and I'm going to communicate with you because I feel safe, but this is what's happening, so this is what I need from you. Can you give that to me? Which so many people can't do. They would just rather disappear and be like, I don't think this is working. And then 2 weeks later, there was somebody else. And 4 months down the line, they're dealing with the same problem. And it's just what I see constantly it's just a recycling of things. So that's what I do. I try to end that cycle.
Well, I think Max is kind of on that same path until me.
See? You've been together for how long? 2 years?
2 years.
2 years,
So I was getting, for some reason, I was attracted to kind of like a toxic personal relationship. I remember my therapist gave me a couple guidelines, like, make sure that they have a good relationship with their family, or, close family. They're not like, distant. And so every one of them was either like not talking to their parents, their mom or dad, or their kids and stuff. And you would just see that stuff. And the more I saw it, the more I'm like, oh, and I finally got to an idea where if I just had any inkling of like, I'm not sure, like call it a day. In the past, I'd be like, oh no, it's okay. It'll get better. Cause I think at that point I just didn't want to be alone. So I would like just give in. And one of the relationships I was in was so toxic, was so bad. And even when I talk about it, I'm just like, what was I doing? It was crazy. But you kind of realize what kind of person you're actually looking for. You have to be honest with yourself too.
That's a huge one. Yeah, is being honest, being able to like being self-aware is a huge part of being ready for a relationship. Being aware of what you need and what you're doing. Like, and are you afraid to be alone? And being willing to admit that you're afraid. Like that's like one step. I know in my own situation, I was guarded for years. I just had a wall. Just no one was busting through that wall. And I kept getting with emotionally unavailable men, and all my friends would be like, Angela, what's wrong? Why do you keep, like, you have so much to offer. Why do you keep attracting these guys that like we would date for like 8 months and then they'd be like, yeah, I can't do this. They're like, they're emotionally unavailable. And it took me a minute, but after a while I was like, dude, I'm emotionally unavailable.
Yeah.
I'm not giving what I should be, what I want to get. You know what I mean? Like I pretend like I don't care and I don't want a relationship. I don't give them 100%. I'm guarded. Right. I'm always on, so it took a long time for me to be like self-aware so I could stop, because as a dating coach, like I know you're never going to find love. You're never going to find a great, healthy relationship until you can allow yourself to be vulnerable with someone.
Yes,
like you can't expect somebody to fall in love with you if you're not giving 100% of yourself. Like if you're not letting them see these torn, broken pieces, and you're
That's
not
so
letting
important.
them. Yeah.
Well, I think we always talk about, everyone has, there's always shit going on. Everyone's kind of like broken in their own little way. Like there's not a perfect person, but you got to kind of embrace that and be like, hey, and it was different for me because I had younger kids. And so that was always a thing too. It's like, do I go after women that don't have kids, that have older kids, or have kids my age? And the problem, it's not for everyone, but the ones without kids didn't kind of understand what I was going through. So it's tough. You have to kind of find that balance. But I think I got to a point where after that one relationship that ended, I finally told myself, you know what, I would rather be alone than how I felt during that relationship. So then I was kind of at peace. Like, you know what, if I meet someone, great. If not, it's not the end of the world. And then once I did that, it kind of filtered out the type of people I was talking to.
Totally. Yeah. And I think that's energy too, right? Like I find that even my matching clients, if I'm matching somebody, if they had that like energy, like they had to be in a relationship, they were looking for somebody, like it was like, I need somebody to complete me, right? They never found the right relationships. It wasn't
Right.
until they were like, I'm cool, I'm happy, I don't need somebody. It would be nice to add somebody to my life, but if I
But you don't
don't,
need it. Yeah.
you know what I mean? And then it seems like that's kind of when the person will show up. Usually like with my matching clients, as soon as things are not working, as soon as we kind of, as soon as they're ready to give up, is usually like the next one is like the one that changes everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was my thing when before I met Max, I was like, I wasn't willing to go through, because I had a really difficult divorce and it was a very hard thing to go through. And I was like, I didn't go through that to go through that again. So like, I don't want to end up with someone that I could potentially be unhappy with just because I want to be with someone. Because if I wanted just to be with someone, I'd stay married, you know? So,
Exactly. It was
yeah.
right. Financially. Yeah. I'm always like, financially, it's easier just to stay together,
Right.
you know, but yeah, you don't want to stay in that position, you
Right. So
know?
I set from the start, I set relatively high standards for like how someone made me feel.
Good
Did
for
I
you.
follow that? Did I follow that when I was actually doing it? No.
Yeah.
The intent was there, but did I actually do it? No, I did not until I
Right.
met Max. But like the the boys before him, not so
Exactly.
much.
I
But
mean,
that's
I'm a dating coach and I say all the time, I'm like, I'm my worst, you know what I mean? I'm my worst client,
hmm
probably. I'm really giving advice. It hasn't been until recently that I actually follow my own damn advice.
yeah. It's hard. I mean, we give advice on this show, and I'm like, I didn't do that.
Yeah.
Because you're like, you're looking from the outside. You're like,
Right.
oh, I can see this. Oh, I
Yeah.
can see how this is right. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
No,
I
I
just,
wouldn't have listened to myself anyway. I would have been like, no, I know what I'm doing. No, I don't.
no, I don't. I don't think
Yeah.
any of us does. That's the
hmm
thing. I think people try to think that they know what they're doing, but they really
hmm
don't. But it's like
Exactly.
just a matter of like finding a person who, like Max said, like everybody has their baggage. It's just like, who do you feel more comfortable? Like, and the question I always ask people is like, how do you want to feel? Because, in matching, especially in date coaching, people will come with like a checklist. I want this, this, this.
hmm
Like, people think that they can just like that. People are just menus, like I'm going to
Right.
order this. I want them to be 6'2". I want them to make 150,000 a year. I want them to, go to this school. They have to have a full head of hair. She has to be, petite or whatever it is. They have all of these like check boxes and none of that actually freaking matters. They're looking at
Right.
all the wrong things. And so I'll say, okay, besides all that, like despite all of that, how do you want to feel?
That's a great way to think about it.
Because, you can
You
have
had a
something
checklist.
perfect.
You
I
had a
did.
checklist.
I did have a checklist.
Six
Yeah.
feet, beard,
Right?
tattoo.
And
Not
how
at
tall,
all.
tall are you, Max? Are you 6 feet?
I
Well,
was 6'1", but I went to the doctor and I found out I'm shrinking, and I'm like, I can't tell Christina if I. Wow,
he told the
Right?
my
nurse
height and
her
my hair
girlfriend's
were
gonna
my
break up with
go-to. I
me.
hope I don't lose
Yeah.
both.
I have so many people like that. They're just like, they're so ridiculous. And
To
I'm
be
like,
fair,
what?
though, it wasn't a deal breaker for me. Like, I dated guys before Max that were not 6 foot, did not have tattoos or beards and stuff. I do love a beard, though. Most of them had beards.
I do like facial hair
Yeah.
too, but like the guy didn't have to have facial hair.
This was
But
a
like,
spite beard. So when I first got divorced, I was never allowed to grow it out. So I kind of grew it out. It was during COVID, and it got really big, and I'm like, and I trimmed it, and then I shaved it all off, and I was like, man, I like that beard. So now I've had
He
the beard
can't
ever
shave it
since,
now.
and now I
now
can't see
for
myself
you,
without
yeah,
it. Like,
He
yeah.
can't.
So
I know. I
it's
have like an
it's
obsession of like touching a beard.
hmm
Every time, like every man that I've dated that had a beard, I just have like my hand is always on their face, just like
I do touch it
massaging
a lot.
their face. I'm like, all I do is touch their damn face.
Yeah.
And the people I date that are probably like that are like, what is she doing? Get your hand
Right.
off.
Like,
But
listen,
I
we
love
just like it.
I know, right? Like I can deal with bald heads, whatever, but that like
Yeah.
that doesn't matter. Like I think I always am very honest about this. I think I've really only fallen in love twice in my life.
hmm
The first man I fell in love with, he was 5'4". He was my height and probably very similar to me in personality. Like we both were actors, we both danced, we whatever. I'm Italian, he was Italian and Greek, so like everything meshed, right?
hmm
but just it didn't work out. Like it was a bad timing situation. I feel like everything's about timing. The second time I fell in love, the guy was like 6'3". We were told like opposite kind of lifestyles, but very similar energetically. You know what I mean? And there were a lot of similarities that we have, but then a lot of like things that were not exactly similar. But it worked out because energetically, I think that we worked out and how we felt. I think that was the most important thing. Like how these people made me feel was the most important. And it's like, statistically, you don't have to have everything in common with someone.
Right.
Statistically, they don't have to be 6'1" or whatever. But if they're a person who makes you feel seen, heard, respected, safe emotionally, where you can share, and you feel like you could grow with this person, and you kind of have similar like ideas for the future, right? Like obviously, financial visions and things like that have to be kind of in place as well. But like, but there's people who have made six figures who are married to people who make 50,000, and it works out fine because
Right.
they're able to manage it together. But I think as long as you feel safe to communicate, someone wants to deal with your baggage and they love it and they want to support it anyway, and you can make each other laugh. And I think that's the most important in the relationships. Because I've seen people who are so perfect together and they're awful together. They make each other feel
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
They make themselves feel alone, like whatever that is. And so you should trust the feeling that you're getting from this person.
Right. And that's like what I noticed with Max was like he made me feel loved in a way that I had never had before. And he made me feel safe in a way that I had never felt before. And like I could be myself, like 100% myself, which is real weird sometimes, and like not worry about it. He's nodding in agreement.
I just,
Like,
I'm like, I don't feel like I did. I just felt like I gave a shit.
yeah,
Like
that's a big deal. That doesn't
yeah.
happen often enough
No,
in
it
my
doesn't
experiences.
happen
Yeah.
at all. Yeah. And it's like, and that's the thing, like people don't recognize that because everyone's like, I never feel like I can be myself because you're not with someone who's making you feel safe enough to do that.
Right.
Like you need to find the person who makes you feel safe and then you make them feel safe to be whoever they are, flaws and all. The fact that I'm having a hot flash right now. My face is like dying red. Like I just want to go jump in a cold shower. But if I'm sitting here like with somebody, they're not going to be making fun of me or be like, well, because I'm having a hot flash, you know what I mean? Or like 51 or whatever it is. Like I need someone who's going to be, you need someone who's going to be making you feel like you can be yourself, right?
Yes.
Because otherwise then you're guarded. Then you don't tell people. That's when you don't talk. That's when your communication is off because you don't feel safe to communicate with those people.
Well, and the interesting thing about me and Max was like the first 5 months we dated, I was very not guarded, but I didn't show all of me. I was very like I wanted to be perfect. So I wanted to do everything the right way. I'm like, oh my God, I want to fall for me. I want everything to be exactly right all the time. And at the 5 month point, he was kind of done with it. I don't know if you even realize this, but I don't know if he was just like over the like trying so hard to be perfect thing.
Whatever.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
we ended up breaking up. And then as soon as we broke up, I just stopped. I stopped with all the like trying so hard to be the perfect girlfriend and be the perfect partner, whatever. I was just me, like 100% me. And as soon as I did that, like something changed in him. And like the way he looked at me changed and the way he reacted to me, all that like flipped because I didn't give a shit anymore. I'm like, well, we're broken up, so I'm just gonna be me. You're gonna get all of Christina now. And he liked it.
How long were you broken up? How long were you broken up for?
We don't know.
Oh, you
Like
don't
the
remember?
whole summer, yeah. I would always tell her I'm not into labels, so we just took the summer and hung out.
That's a red flag, Max. That's a red flag, being not into labels. Just letting you know.
I know. Oh, I know. It's a big red flag.
Yeah.
So
We
I don't
were
know.
together.
I feel like now with relationships, after a couple dates, people want to kind of like almost make it, oh, it's exclusive of this, that. And I think dating is hard enough, and now you have social media everywhere and all these dating apps. So I think it's so difficult to kind of like stay. But yeah, so we took a break, and I kind of looked at else what is out there, and I was like, Jesus, like I got something really good in front of me. my whole fear was if we jump back into this too quickly and it ends again, I don't think we'll even have a friendship. So I was
Right.
kind of scared with that. So let's just have the summer. And
Yeah.
so it was funny because I even told my daughter, "Oh no, we're just friends." And I remember she told my ex-wife, "They're still not friends. They kiss." So it was kind of funny. But yeah, so we took the summer, and it was fun. It was a blast. And then we kind of transitioned back to, all right, let's try this again. And
So
then
what's funny is we were together more as friends
Friend.
than we were when we were dating before that. And so we were together nonstop. We weren't seeing other people. We were together. We just didn't say we were
You
together.
didn't say you were together.
Yes.
But what
Yeah.
was great was that then there was no pressure then either.
Exactly.
And then you just kind of let things flow and kind of naturally weave into whatever was going to happen, which is so
Mhm.
important. Like, which is great because, like you said, once you let go, he was able to kind of, and I know exactly what you're talking about. Like, I have, I've been in relationships where I didn't feel like I was like, oh my God, why would this person like me? I mean, he's got this and this, and I've got to become this thing, right? Like,
Mhm.
and was scared to like show myself. And I think the same thing, that relationship ended because I think he was like, dude, I don't know you. Like, you kind of are overcompensating. You're kind of being cocky. Like, I don't know who you are, you know?
Mhm.
Um, and that's the truth. Like, I think people can catch on if you're not giving them the real deal.
Yeah.
And
And I
I
don't
think,
I don't even know that he knows that. Like I don't know if he even that's
did you notice
why.
that, Max, or did you notice that? Like, did you think she was kind of putting on a show or
no, I didn't think she
guarded
put on a
or?
show. I think I also kind of spooked myself too because like, the longest relationship I think I had was like 3 months,
Oh, yeah.
like outside of my first marriage. And so once after that 3 month mark, my mind was messing with me and freaking out. And then I had a lot of stuff happened with, like, I got a new dog, I got sick, work was kind of getting stressed, so it was kind of like a combination. But it was true, like we weren't only seeing each other like maybe once or twice a week.
Mhm.
And so, and one of the things is, like, like I was a person that liked their space, not space, but just my alone time, just me. And so kind of transitioning to that because now I don't have it, but I'm
Nope.
fine with it. But it's like, being an only child the whole time,
Mhm.
that was kind of my thing. And she was an only child too, so she doesn't have that
Oh, really?
syndrome. But
Oh, I don't
Okay.
yeah,
have
I
it.
finally I finally realized, like, I was like, you know what? Like, you kind of, you hear about it, right? You don't
Yep.
realize what you have until it's
Until
gone.
it's gone. Yeah.
And so it was like, then it was just like, wait, because she's like willing to like do almost everything. So yeah, I don't think she's put on an act. I mean, the first 5 or 6 months, you're always kind of trying to put yourself above like who you
Yeah.
are. Yeah,
Right.
just
Yeah.
And I think like I love that you never know until it's funny because like I just had another person that I was coaching and it was a gentleman and he had actually because I think a big problem with dating nowadays is you have too many options, right? Like
Mhm.
everyone's distracted. They don't work on what they have in front of them. They're always like, oh, well, this doesn't work. I wonder if this person, because like everybody's here, everybody's on a swipe, right? Nobody's actually ever off dating apps. They're on it even when they're dating. It's like insane. It's like, so you're not really in a relationship. Like you're always looking for something better. People are
Mhm.
always, and I always try and tell my clients, I'm like, there's always going to be something better. There's always going to be someone who looks better than you. There's always going to be someone who's in better shape. There's always going to be someone who makes more money, who has a better education. There's always going to be a better, but doesn't necessarily mean that's better. You know what I mean? So this particular client of mine had left his girlfriend of many years because he's like, I just thought there was something better. And we sat here working with him for a couple months and he went and dated and all this and then he's now back with this woman because he's like, I realized that she was great. Like she was there for me through all this. She would have been there for me through thick and thin. She took him back. And now their relationship is stronger, but we worked on it. And I said, okay, now this time your behavior was to stay on dating apps. You have to get off those dating apps. Like
Mhm.
if there's anybody, like I'm like, if you are in these whatever, I don't know if he's in a group like singles groups or whatever, if he's on these Facebook pages or whatever, I said you need to eliminate any female or any person that your girlfriend would not be comfortable with you talking to if you want to make this work because you were distracting yourself in DMs. You were distracting yourself with other conversations that or like pictures or liking other things on, like looking at what everybody else was doing. I'm like, you're distracting yourself, making yourself think that there's something so much better. You need to eliminate all that, and you need to like work on this one relationship with her and have her involved and start tagging her and stuff instead of always wanting to look at what everybody else is doing, like, and get yourself off these apps so that you're not swiping and looking at somebody else who might look better but is not. Like, if you want a relationship to work, you got to work with the relationship you got.
Exactly.
People who are 70 years old weren't married for 60 years because they were perfect together.
Right. Well, and that's interesting because he kind of did that when we broke up, because we had been together we only been together for 5 months, and he was kind of like, I just want to see what else is out there. And I'm like, cool, that makes me feel great.
But I think it's my mindset, like, oh, it's after 3 months. All right, time to move on. Like, that was just my kind of thing. And I was like, I was convinced, like, I don't think I was ever going to meet someone, but I'm just going to kind of go out there, see what happens, and go from there. And I'm still sometimes amazed. Like, sometimes I tell people, like, the stuff she's willing to do for me, and I'm just like, why? Like, because I think I never had that. I never had people like,
loves, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's like, I think that's what people think. There's a huge disconnect in that, I think, in the dating world and relationship world, is that people are so busy looking outside, and then they're afraid also, right? Because they're afraid of being hurt. So they're afraid to give, and they're afraid that all of these things, you're acting out of fear. But when you look at it, you're like, but look at what this person, like, that's the important thing. How does she make you feel? She will do anything for you because she loves you, and so that's kind of like, that makes her perfect right there for you. You know what I mean? As long as she's not doing everything and you're forcing her to, right? Like, as long as she's doing it out of like,
I don't do things I don't want to do.
Right. Like, as long as it's not like coercion or like threatening, whatever. But like, I think people mistake what is good for them, like what a good relationship is, what a healthy relationship. Because like I said, these relationships with grandparents and stuff, you look at people who've been married for 70 years, 50 years, they don't have it. They're not perfect. Sometimes they don't have anything in common, but they make each other laugh, or they know how to communicate. They know how to work through the stuff, and they realize that relationships aren't easy. Because I think a lot of people nowadays, they're like, why is this hard? Relationships shouldn't be hard. And that's just a myth. Yes, they are hard.
Especially, well, like that's when my past relationship, what I realized was like the first couple months are supposed to be like happy, you're giddy and stuff. And I'm like, it never was like that. And so, but I think you also learn. I think everyone, after you get out of a relationship or divorce, especially with us. So, before I got married, the only apps I think were like the Yahoo personal apps for dating.
Right.
Then you're married, then you're divorced, and then everyone at work tells me, no, you don't go to bars. You use these apps, and then it's a whole new world. And so everyone has this fantasy like, oh, I'm gonna fall in love, I'm gonna find the right person for me. And you always think it's gonna be like the first or second person you meet, but you realize sometimes it takes a while, and sometimes you might not. That's the thing. I think people have to realize you might not find it, but you still have to kind of go into it like kind of like with like, okay, I'm gonna give this a shot.
Right. Especially if you have these ideas, like you definitely will not find it if you have so many expectations. Like I always say, you have to detach yourself from outcomes and stuff like that, because like Brene Brown, I love her. She's my spirit animal, but she always says like expectations are like resentments just waiting to happen. Right.
Yes.
And so you have to eliminate expectation. And I feel like on these dating apps, it's too easy to just look at a picture and look at this little bio and create your own narrative and then figure out why that's not going to work, why that will work, instead of just, and a lot of people, I hear this all the time. I just don't want to waste my time. And I'm always teaching people this. Time is all you have. Like, I feel like a lot of people in my age group, at least, have gotten divorced because like I come from that age of like, we wanted to have family for, like, we didn't focus on career. Women were supposed to have babies, right? So like at 28, you're like, oh my God, I have to get married. You're here, I'm going to marry you. So like we got married and had these kids and then realized at 38, 40, okay, my 25-year-old self would never have married you. You know what I mean? And so now we're getting divorced. You're like, oh shoot, now I got kids. Nowadays, people are not getting married and not having children. Like there's a lot of women like in their 30s that are not interested in getting married, that are not interested in having children because they saw their parents all getting divorced, in these marriages, and they're freezing their eggs and all this other stuff. but their expectations now are so high and unrealistic. You know what I
Right.
mean? And they go out on these dates and they're like, well, I don't want to waste my time. And you're like, you're not wasting your time. Like, you have to take your time. That's all
Mm-hmm.
you have. It takes time to, and you can't go out. If you go out with people on dates and you're like, you've got this time clock, right? Like, I want to be in a relationship by May. This second date needs to be the one. Then dating is going to be very awful for you.
Right.
That's going to be a really terrible experience because it's not going to go the way you want.
Mm-hmm.
But if you go into dating like, you know what, I'm going to go meet some people and I'm going to go on these dates.
Right.
And I might meet a new friend. I might meet the love of my life. I might have a really funny story because it's a bad dating experience, like whatever it is. Like, but I'm just going to go out there and put myself out there and open myself up to
Mm-hmm.
whatever and not like marry the outcome of it. I think then people will, at least get themselves out there. But now people don't put themselves out there anymore. And so they come to us because we have to help them get out there. Like, you're not going to find anybody sitting at home swiping left.
Mm-hmm. That's true. I think there's a big difference between having standards and expectations too. I think people confuse their expectations with standards. Well, I deserve this. I deserve. It's like, sure, sure. We all deserve the fairy tale. But having standards and meeting someone who treats you with respect and kindness and stuff, that's different from
Yes.
I want a guy who spends this much money on me and does this and whatever, the expectations that you build for yourself, that this guy can't read your mind. He doesn't know. And it also might not be what he wants. You just gotta have to experience it and go with what
Right.
happens. But expecting something specific, you can't
Yeah.
say what's gonna happen in life.
Yeah. And also, like, and I feel bad for men sometimes because women do have a lot of expectations. Like, I
Mm-hmm.
feel like women can sometimes be more difficult than men. I hate to say that, but they
I'm
can.
sure. Yeah.
And men just tell me if I'm correct, Max, because you're a man. But I feel like men, like, there's already this expectations and these standards for men in society, right? And I know that the gender roles are changing, and like, but I feel like most women still want like chivalry. They still want this. They still want the car door to be open for them and the bouquet of flowers and stuff like that. But there's already so many expectations for men with women already in standards. So now we're going to add to it. And I feel like that's another reason why men kind of disconnect because they're like, I just want
Yeah.
connection. And I feel like this person is just making me feel like I have to even be now more than what I can possibly be, which is so stressful that,
Yeah.
it's like intense. What do you think? Do you notice that?
No, yeah, yeah, it is. And it's plus like, so like the first date, right? You go out somewhere nice. And I always tell people, well, you're raising the bar because for some women feel like, okay, you can't go anything below that. The whole conversation that happened a few years ago where the woman refused to go on the date because it was at Cheesecake Factory. And I'm like, that's a nice place for me. And I think it just depends. You hear both sides, men have expectations, but also a lot of women have these high expectations too. The whole thing that went around. I need a man with 6'6" and 6", which is 6 feet tall, bigger than 6 inches, and six-figure income. And I'm
Yeah.
like, if you're thinking like that, then I mean, that's crazy. But yeah, I believe that. I mean, I think it also depends on what's happened to them before
Mm-hmm.
too.
Yeah. Yeah. And everything, like, if you think about it, and this is where coaching and even therapy comes into play, all of us are, and this is why I'm doing the teen thing, all of us are just behaving out of patterns, right? Because of what we've been through. And, we're just trying to work all through it. We have a story because of what we've been through. We've created a story for ourselves, and this is now how we're behaving. And this is how and so we just have to, if we want healthy patterns, if we want healthy relationships, we just have to recognize what story we're telling ourselves, like what we think we're going to have or how we see our relationships, and like how we're going to change that story so that we can create a new story. How do we shut the chapter on the story that keeps us in toxic relationships, and how do we start a new chapter? Basically, like, that's why I named my business, right? A new chapter. Like, how do we shut the door on this
Mm-hmm.
book and start a new chapter on what we're going to create for ourselves instead? Because I don't think enough people realize that, like, we create our outcomes, we create our situation. And so as a coach, that's what I really work on, is helping people stop like falling victim into their circumstances. Like, they keep thinking that this is just how everything's going to be, right? How do we stop create, like, how do we stop falling into that pattern and create the life that we want? And how are we keeping ourselves from doing that by our behavior?
Yeah.
Because I don't think people realize, like, we are creators.
Mm-hmm.
So we're creating whatever story we want to create. And so
that's totally true. Like,
you
set yourself up for the outcome that you want. If you never leave the house, you never go out and meet people, you want this fairy tale life, you're not going to get it if you're not doing anything about it. Yeah, you have to do
like
something.
step up with it. But people don't do it because they're scared.
Mm-hmm.
They're acting out of fear, but it's like you have, or like a comfort zone, like whatever. You have to step out. You've got to make yourself uncomfortable just a little bit to find what it is you're looking for. And, as a dating coach, like, this goes back to the question of, like, what we do. We help people get out of their comfort zone and work towards their goal so that they can finally get out of their own way and get it.
When you're a dating coach, is that where you kind of transition to matchmaker because they kind of fall in line? I mean, or is that when you're a dating coach, is the ultimate goal, I mean, just to find someone for them? Is that kind of how it happens?
No, so for the coaching, it's trying to get them past their behaviors and get past the stuff, the barriers that they're creating that are keeping them from the love that they want. Now, as a matchmaker, like, what makes me different than a lot of the matchmaking companies and matchmaking services is everybody who comes through me has to get coaching. They have to go through coaching. Whereas a lot of matchmaking companies, that's like an accessory. That's just an add-on if you want it. But it's like, I will not work with people who will not be coached, because I can guarantee a lot of these matchmaking services, like, they'll sell you on, okay, yeah, if you pay me, I can get you this, this, this. Okay, so you want a man with 6'2". Okay, you want this, you want that. Okay, yeah, we'll find it. And they'll get you dates. But, like, a lot of people are sad and disheartened because love doesn't work that way. And so we're selling love in a wrong way. We're not actually helping people connect. And a lot of these services, people will invest and they'll find you matches, and then you won't get in a relationship and you will not leave any better than you were the first time. Like, you will not be closer to being in a relationship, in a healthy relationship, than you were when you first started. And I absolutely refuse to do that with my people. You need to be realistic. You need to be self-aware. I need you to be better off, even if I don't get you in that relationship, because I don't get everyone in a relationship. I can't match everyone. I don't have 100%, right? But you're going to be better off, and at least leave knowing that you're a little bit better off than you were when you first started, and understanding how relationships work and maybe your part in creating the wrong ones.
Right.
So I always tell people, like, if you don't want truth and you just want to be sold butterflies and rainbows, then go somewhere else. But if you want someone to work with you and get real and help you figure out why you're not finding what you're looking for, then you'll want to work with me. Like, when you're ready, like, sometimes I'm like, if you're not ready, go to these other servers. That's fine. Go there. I'll see you again. I'll see you in a year.
Yeah.
Yeah. You'll be back.
It's not working.
Yeah. It's cool. I'll see you.
One of them, like, I guess I signed up for, I had no idea, but I didn't pay the money. And so I think the women pay the money. And so they reach out to you and they're like, all right, I tried it. And I tried it, like, they randomly will just, like, text you or email you. And I tried it like 3 times and all 3 were, like, terrible. And one of them, I told her, like, what they do is, like, they tell you about their client, and then they feel like if you're a good fit, but they don't tell you their name or, like, anything about them. And they give you, like, kind of a code name, like Bonnie and Clyde, and you go and meet at this restaurant. And I was trying to tell the woman, you don't know anything about them. So it's just like, it's so awkward. It was so awkward. It's like, hi, what's your name? So yeah, it was weird. And I still sometimes get the text messages from them, and I show her, I laugh.
I told them that you should be like, I have to ask my girlfriend if I can date.
I mean, I'm not dissing a lot of these companies. Like, they have success rates too. You know what I mean? Like, dating will work for certain people, no matter where you are. I think it's just a matter of if you're really wanting to dig in with yourself, right? Like, if you really want to figure out why you keep having the same thing happen to you over and over again in relationships, then honestly, you need a coach. Like, you don't need to just find somebody who's in alignment with what you're looking for. You need a coach, because everything's going to keep happening until you work on yourself.
If I hadn't met Max, I would have needed you, because I was on that cycle. So
I remember one of them, she was like, telling me about her client, and she's like, well, she works right now in Cincinnati, but she's willing to move to Chicago. I'm like, you're not even on a first date. That's a lot of pressure. Be like, hey, if this works out, you're gonna move to Chicago. Like, I thought that was just really weird. I was like, So
Yeah.
I'm like, nah, I'm
Mhm.
good.
Yeah. That's because they need men. We need men. It's hard.
Yeah.
Like you're like, men, just go out. Yeah, exactly.
All
Yeah.
right. So we're talking about dating apps. Do you have any tips for people with their profiles? Is there something you see commonly in profiles that people are doing wrong that they could do to like
Man.
make
Yes.
themselves like, yeah.
Yeah. So, okay. So, first of all, pictures.
Mm-hmm.
Get some good pictures. Selfies, keep them to a minimal, right? Like maybe one. Okay. Males are awful at taking selfies. Guys, just maybe get someone to take your pictures.
Mm-hmm.
Stop getting in pictures with like groups of people. We don't know who you are. Which one are you? What if you're in a group and the other three people are better looking? You know what I
Right.
mean?
That's what I always said. Like, how do you know which one you're? Can I get
Right.
that one? No, no, you get the
Exactly. I
middle
want
one.
um, animals are fine, but don't have too many pictures of your animals, your children. Like obviously you don't want people like maybe one, but
I think the
you know,
children on that's a huge turnoff. Like, I can't understand that why you would ever want to put a picture of your children on a dating app. I mean, yeah,
yeah. I mean, and I get it that there are people who have kids, but like, unless your kids are like adults or whatever, like you don't care, whatever. But
Mm-hmm.
little ones, I would never put their pictures
Right.
up with the faces and stuff on a dating app. Make sure you have like a great headshot and a great body shot, but nothing that's too um, risque, like too
Mm-hmm.
promiscuous. Like, here's the thing, like, and I get this all the time too. I have women who'll be like, everyone always thinks I'm, easy. And I'm like, well, let's take a look at your pictures.
Mm-hmm.
Half of your body's showing here. What am I going to think about this? You know what I mean?
Right.
You don't need to show your body
You
in
don't.
order to be sexy. You
Yeah.
don't need to wear nothing and have your cleavage out. Like, you
Mm-hmm.
don't need that. And if you want someone who's respectful and doesn't just want you to sleep, like if you want someone who's like a professional, let's just say,
Mm-hmm.
he's not going to take you seriously. He can't take you to his functions. He's not looking at and I've had women who are very classy, but I've had businessmen who are like, I can't bring her in front of my children. I can't bring her to a function. Like, did you, let me explain how she showed up on this date.
Mm-hmm.
So the more conservative, like you can be sexy in a full covered everything, but you can show your figure. I would say don't get in a bathing suit. You don't need to show all that stuff.
Right.
You don't need to be in lingerie. You don't need to be in tiny clothing. That scares me. A lot of times I wonder why people do that because I'm like, okay, now you're insecure.
Mm-hmm.
That's how you're trying to get somebody by showing your body, right?
Right. And then you're attracting the wrong kind of people.
And you're attracting the wrong
Yeah.
kind of people. So I would say it's okay to be sexy. Like it's okay if you feel sexy, but you don't have. I would not suggest it on a dating app. Bios, make sure that you're explaining who you are and what you're looking for. Let people know what's interesting about you. Don't AI it, don't chat GPT it, but make sure that you're telling people in that bio or in that about me, whatever it is, what you're looking for, who you are, what your intentions are in a relationship. Because it's okay if you want to hook up, but you got to tell people you want to hook up immediately so that they know. If you're going to be ENM, you got to tell people you're polyamorous or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Be real about it. If you're still married, all of those things. So be very intentional about who you are and what you're looking for in terms of like your partner in that brief bio. Make sure the profile is completed. If it's not, then someone didn't put effort into it. And then when you're messaging people, I would suggest to bring something up that's in their profile and question them about it. Like anything that's going to engage people in conversation. Don't just say like, "Hey, how are you? I like your picture," or whatever. Like say something that's in that bio that is intriguing, that you would want to know more, that would engage in conversation, because you want to make yourself stand out. You know what I mean? I always tell people, I'm like, online dating is like online shopping. And I can go online shopping and I can look at the same kind of boots and there's 50 boots, but I need to know what makes this pair of boots better for me to buy than this pair of boots. And you're kind of doing that. Like you have to make yourself look, why should someone pick you when there's 500 other
People saying the exact same thing.
people that look like are the
Yeah.
same type, right? And are saying the same thing. Why should I look at you? What are you selling? And if the more authentic and genuine and thought provoking you can make your profile, the better off you'll be.
The ones that are different stand out.
remember? My icebreaker.
Yeah,
I had
you're.
an
Yeah.
icebreaker that I learned in a sales class years ago, and I did it to get people trying to think. So it was like you're stuck on an island, and you get like a food, drink, like CD, movie, or like movie or TV show or something, whatever. And I wanted, and the people were like, oh, I would bring water or a book, and I would bring like How to Survive on an Island, and those people were like, eh. And then you get people that would actually really think about it, and then the others would be like, I don't get it, like, what do you want? I was like, yeah, this isn't. I just wanted people to kind of like
Mhm.
kind of find out a little bit about them rather than like, hey, what's up, how you doing, and the
Right.
And
basic.
that did stand out to me because there's so many people who are like, "Hey, what are you doing? What's up? How you doing? Whatever." It's all the same
How
thing,
was your day?
Right.
right? But
How's your
then you
day?
get yeah, but then you get the people who say something interesting. There are a few people I matched with. There was one who had a really funny profile. Like it was really funny. I would have never matched with him otherwise. But he made me laugh in his profile, and so I matched with him. He was actually on our show the first season. That's
Oh,
Tristan.
really?
Never probably would have matched with him otherwise, but I just thought his profile grabbed me and it was so different from all the other ones I saw. I'm like, he's kind of funny. I want to talk to him. But then Max is with his questions, that was different. And then I had another guy who was like, let's do two truths and a lie. I'm like, yeah, I'm down for a game. Let's do that. Like it's just things that are different from what everyone else does will stand out.
Yeah, exactly. And if you can make it seem like it's authentic, and like women, one of the most attractive factors for them for a man is someone who can make them laugh.
Mm-hmm.
But men also have to be very careful because I've had men who are a little too funny. Like there's a difference between like funny and then there's like okay, now you're being
Yeah.
ridiculous and can you be serious? Like if you've ever
Mm-hmm.
been I was just at a place today where this guy at the bar was just like nonstop telling the bartender jokes after joke. And she was like, you could just tell she was busy. I'm like, it's not funny. You know what I mean? And it's like,
Yeah.
his girlfriend was like, okay, could you just shut up now? Shut up.
That'd
You know
be
what I
me.
mean?
That's me.
I was like, was
Yeah.
it us?
That's so me.
So there's like a difference between like being funny and being ridiculous. Or like if you're one person one time used like cake lyrics to a song, and I was like, okay, but not everybody's going to catch on to that. Like they're not
Mhm.
going to know what you're talking about there. So just be careful, like being too funny or too
Going the
witty, because
distance.
like it
Going
can be
for
like,
speed.
yeah, right,
Yeah.
like whatever. But yeah, and then also like once you're talking to people, you should get off the app and on a date within a week. You should have a date schedule. If people aren't, once you're talking, if they're not committing to meeting you within a week, like at least a date, like
Mhm.
when you're going to meet, then get rid of them. Like you got to weed through that. That's someone who's not committed to meeting you. That's someone who's just on the app for,
Something
for,
to do.
for confidence,
Companionship.
for attention, for whatever.
We call them
Maybe
pen
they're not even
pals.
a real person. Maybe they're married. They just want
Mhm.
yeah.
I had
We
a
don't
pen
need-
pal for months. He
Yeah,
still
we don't need
texts
pen-
me every now and then.
Really?
Yeah. But we talked for months. He was one of the first people I matched with. I didn't meet him until I was actually dating Max. And he was like, hey, let's go hang out. I'm like, I'm not going on a date with this guy,
Now?
but I really want to meet him because I'm so intrigued. And he's like, yeah, I want you to meet him too because I want to hear this story.
Yeah.
So like we just went to lunch as like friends and it wasn't a date or anything. But I'm like, what? Why did you wait so long?
Yeah. There's no point to that. Like, I just feel like that's ridiculous. And then obviously no dick pics. Like, stop
Mhm.
sending the pics.
Mm-hmm.
And women too. Women send pics to men. Like, women
Yes.
do it too. What the hell are you doing? Like, I don't understand that whole and like, don't get into sex talk immediately. Like, if there's
Yes.
one thing that turns women off, right? And I get it. Men are visual. Men are stimulated by whatever. Women are too. Women are stimulated by emotional connection first, right? And like
Mhm.
men don't understand this. Like, you cannot just show your dick and think that we're going to be like, oh,
I just want to know if it's worked for anyone. Because I
It's
can't.
it's the
I
craziest
don't know.
thing.
I don't know anybody it's ever worked for.
Yeah.
Like, unless you have the most magical looking,
Even
dick,
then.
throws chocolate and, shoots out money. I don't
Right.
think that anybody's
Well, if it
really.
does that, I'm into it. But
I am too. Like, if you shot me, I'd be like, okay, when are we
I'm
meeting?
just curious of the mindset, like what someone says, like, you know what, she's really nice. I think she needs a picture of my dick. And I'm like, I always thought like, oh, maybe it's like younger people, but then it's people even older, and they probably got the idea from someone. That's social media is toxic, but sometimes you also have like just bad friends.
I
They
think
give
they
you
just
bad
do it for
advice.
fun too, because there are guys who just don't give a shit, and they're just doing
That's
it
what,
because they're like, I
and
just
I
would
think
like for you
they
to
do
see
it
my
just,
dick.
yeah. They're like voyeurs. They're like, I'm just
Yeah.
gonna show. Like I think they do it for entertainment purposes. Like it
They
gets
want to
them
see
off.
the reaction.
Well, that's what I think. They're talking about one of the things happening, like in like high school or college, is people are like meeting people online. They have no idea, so they send them a dick pic, but they have like their face and body with it, and they use that as blackmail. And one of the
Mm-hmm.
times, I think
Yeah,
they blackmailed the kid, and the kid ended up like killing himself because he was so distraught. And you hear
yeah,
like that's happening a lot, and people are like, first you don't do it, and then so it's crazy, like all the stuff happening. 'Cause
And
You
I'll
don't, you,
say,
like
go
in high
ahead.
school, we didn't have to deal with that stuff. College, we didn't have to deal with that stuff.
Hmm.
Now, I can't imagine like all of
yeah.
the
I mean, I
issues.
don't really get those pictures, but I think people know what I do, and they're probably afraid that I'm gonna pop their picture up on a Just a Tip Tuesday or something. Like they're
Hmm.
probably afraid that I'll be like
Yeah.
Exhibit A. Like,
I mean,
yeah,
I had the podcast after, me and Max met, so I wasn't dating anymore, obviously, but like I would have absolutely talked about people's dicks on the show and been like, listen, I just got this crazy one. It was so bad,
yeah. You'd be like, hi, this
right?
dick to X Kalula. Yeah,
But when we go back to talking about sex too soon, I think what a lot of guys don't understand is like, yes, a lot of people are down. They want to hook up, they want to do whatever. When you start talking about sex, the first thing within like two sentences, you lose. I mean, most girls, you're going to lose them because they're like, okay. The thing is, like, there's a chance they would have hooked up with you if you just acted like you gave a shit about who they are before
yeah,
you were trying to get in their pants.
yeah,
Just put a little more effort in, and it probably would have happened for you.
yeah. Totally. There was a
Mm-hmm.
comedian, and she's lesbian, and it's just funny. She had a whole thing, and she's like, I got my girlfriend. She's like, all I have to do is be like, how was your day? And she's like,
Yeah.
the floodgates open. She's like, man, if you just gave the bare minimum, just the bare,
Mm-hmm.
like just she's like, stop making me do your work. It's just kind of funny how she said it because it's true. It's like if you would just listen to what I'm saying and show that you care, and
Mm-hmm.
just like I used to always joke with my ex-husband. I'd be like, if you would just do the dishes, like whatever, I would be ready
Mm-hmm.
do whatever because I'm doing everything. Like I always felt like I was doing everything, and then he would be like, "Well, let's go." And you're like, you haven't held my hand.
Mm-hmm.
Why do you think I just want to Why do you think I'm just going to go into bed and just be like, "Oh yeah, I'm ready for you." Also, like I feel like with the sex too soon. Because this is a problem. People jump from like, and this is what Max was saying, like he likes to go slowly, and like you guys were friends. I honestly believe that you should build a foundation of friendship first because
Mm-hmm.
that's what's going to keep you together. Friendship. Sex is not going to keep you together. You can have sex with
I mean, that was
anybody,
happening too.
right?
It
I
was
mean, it
not a
happens.
healthy situation at the
Well,
time.
when a guy sleeps, like I would tell her this, and you could see it in relationships, and I would tell other people about it. So
Yeah,
when you're dating and when you sleep with each other, something in the guy's head changes, and it's like okay. And a lot of guys think like, okay, I got that. What I can get more, I can get better, I can get. And we kind of had a one of the podcasts we talked about how men think after sex and what women think after sex, and I would tell her like it's two complete things. She's like, "Oh, I'm falling in love. He could be the one," and the guy's thinking like, "When's she leaving? I'm hungry. Sports Center's on." Like, and she kind of laughed at that, but I'm like, "That's how it is. It's like it's two different things." And so,
yeah.
and that's why I don't know what it is, but like once you sleep with someone, it kind of like the brain functions differently.
Well, and you're pushing. If you sleep with someone too soon, you're like also pushing your relationship into another realm. Like you're not there yet.
Mm-hmm.
You haven't built some of these like necessary foundational stuff that you have to. And now the woman who's got this what am I, oxytocin, right? And this like love drug, like your neurotransmitters in your brain that's like, oh my God, I think I love him, because we respond emotionally. And that's what I mean. And that's why some people have come to me and they're like, is it possible to just have a sexual relationship? It's like not for very long. Like if you're going to have a friend with benefit, it can't be a long one. You can't have 6, 7, 8, 9 years of a friend with benefit because you will get, especially women, there will be an attachment at some point. There will be an attachment. I don't
Mm-hmm.
care because women do not, you're literally entering us.
Mm-hmm.
It is literally like it's a very emotional thing. I believe a man can totally just screw a woman for 9 years and not really, all right, thanks a lot, have fun. I honestly don't think, I mean, I think there's some women that could do it, but I don't think many women are like, I just don't think. I think emotions eventually hit, and
Mm-hmm.
now we have a problem. And now there's like a jealousy thing. Like, I think at some point it just does not work out.
Yeah. I don't think I've never heard of a long-term successful friends with benefits, like long term. Like that just doesn't seem like it would work.
Right. Because after a
So,
while, you're like, okay, if we can do this for 12 years, why don't you want to be with me then?
right.
And it's almost like, what are we doing?
Yeah,
Why?
like we're together. Why not just be
I mean,
together?
like, we're basically dating, but we only, but like, if I'm good enough for this, like, I know in my brain, that's where my brain goes. Okay, so if
Mm-hmm.
I'm good enough for this, why am I not good enough for anything else in your life? Why am I not good enough
That's
to bring it to your parents? Why am
that's
I not good enough
hilarious.
to go to dinner?
That's exactly how I felt when we were no labels. I'm like, oh, okay, I'm just not good enough to be a girlfriend.
Right, right. I see so many people broken. They're like, oh my God, I was his fuck buddy for 5 years. And then now
Mm-hmm.
he met this one girl in a week. Well, probably because she didn't, again, you didn't demand it. You created your relationship. This woman probably was like,
Mm-hmm.
I don't have just a friend with benefit. Like, I'm either the person you take home to your friends and family, or you don't get me at all.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the difference. And
Yeah.
he was like, okay.
Right. And I feel like I hit that point and we ended up talking about it because I was like, and I don't even remember exactly when it was. I was just like, are we done? Like pretending we're not together because it's just stupid at this point. Like I
It
basically
It was
lived here at
fun.
that point. Yeah.
is.
But I was here all the time. I'd met his we I didn't meet anyone when we were dating. We
Right.
break up, he's like, meet my mom.
Yeah.
Here's my kids. I'm like,
Well, it
what
was
is
a Fourth of
happening?
July party, and you were
Probably
there for the
testing it.
weekend.
Yeah.
So I wasn't gonna like leave you home. Like, hey, I'm going to my aunt's Fourth of July party. I'll see you in a couple
Right.
hours. I was like, come with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like it was just like things like that. Like it just kind of started turning into like more of a relationship than what he was willing to say it was. I remember talking to my therapist about it. She's like, "You're in a relationship." I'm like, "I know."
You're in a
Yeah.
situationship.
Yeah.
Well, at that point, you were in a situation.
Right. Right.
Like,
And
yeah,
he
and
even told his therapist the same thing. She's like, "How is that different from a relationship?" He's like, "Because I'm
exactly.
not calling it one."
You just didn't want to label it,
Yeah.
but it's like that's like a
Yeah.
commitment code, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
like what are you scared of? Just call it what it is, But it's amazing to me how many people in relationships or not in relationships, but they do things that it's like, what are you doing? Like there's so many times, like even in my own personal life, there's people that I want to be like, what are you doing?
Mm-hmm.
What are you doing right now? What are we doing? What is this? Because you're not making sense. But I'm also like in the age where I'm like, if you're an adult and you can't have a conversation and tell me what the fuck you're doing, then you're not my person.
Right. Yeah. I
So
feel
you're
the
just
same
like, right? You're just detached. Like, okay,
Yeah.
well then I'm gonna do this. I'm just gonna do whatever, and I'm not
Mhm.
even thinking about what that is. Then but there comes a point I think where anybody will be like, what are you doing?
Mhm.
We need to like what is this? I feel sorry for anybody who's in a situation. There's a lot of situationships happening, and people are just, and again, what is that based in? Fear to like
Mhm.
move forward, fear to say what they are, because if I say this, then what if we don't end up being friends? Or, what's going to happen if we, break up or something, whatever it is, like what's going to happen if I do this? Is this going to come back? Like, am I going to have another situation like my last relationship? Or, what if I lose myself in this? For me, I lost myself in my marriage. I gave up everything I wanted.
Mhm.
I wanted to be an actress. I gave that up because he told me it wasn't conducive for a mother, to be an actress. And I was working professionally and I gave it up. And I was
Yeah.
like, I lost myself in my marriage.
Yeah.
And so for many years, I was like, I'm not going to be involved with another man because he'll make me lose myself. I won't be able to be me,
Mhm.
And so I just allowed situationships because as long as I wasn't a girlfriend, you couldn't tell me what I could do,
Yeah.
and I wouldn't have to care,
Yeah. But in the
you,
right relationship, you could be you.
but in the right
Yeah.
relationship, it would be
Yeah.
you. Yeah, exactly. Because the right person isn't going to make you change or make you give up your passion or make you be anything different than who you are.
And that's the thing. I've talked about it before where I heard a thing where like love is loving someone for who they are, like right now, not who you think they can be, who you can change them. If you want to change someone, then you don't love the person that they are right now. And that's the thing with Max. Like, I don't need to change it. Well, there's a few things. I don't want to change anything about him. Like, he's exactly the way he is right now. I'm happy with. And
Yeah,
so, like, I'm not trying to change who he is as a person. I'm not trying to change the way he dresses, things like that. Like, there were guys I dated that I was like, oh, we're gonna work on this. But it's like, that's not how you do it, because you're falling for the person that they are, and that's who they are. And especially as you're older, you can't expect that person to change for you because you have a vision that's different from what their vision is. So
exactly.
yeah.
And usually, whoever they are, like whoever you're attracting is who you're reflecting. Because, like,
Mm-hmm.
when you're in relationships, you're kind of a mirror to what is, you know, what's going on with you. Like I was talking before, like I was attracting emotionally unavailable people because if you looked in the mirror, I was just as emotionally unavailable. And
Mm-hmm.
so, it's just one of those things, but
Right.
yeah, you cannot change, like you can't fall in love with someone's potential. You have to allow them to be who they are in the moment. And true love means accepting that and being willing to grow with that person and
Mm-hmm.
accept, instead of, but if you can't, then they're not your people.
Yeah.
You got to
And
go find someone who
it's a
is.
hard pill to swallow sometimes, because I know in my I don't really talk about my marriage that much, but in my marriage there's things like I'm like, well, if this happens and if he does this and if he changes this, then it'll be great. And it's like, I didn't know at the time. Like, you can't live like that. You can't live going, well, when this changes, then it'll
Yeah,
get better. And it's like, no,
right,
that's not how it works.
right. And also recognizing that things don't change unless the person wants to change, and
Mm-hmm.
until you stop accepting the things that are occurring,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because a
Exactly.
lot of times we teach people how they treat us, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So,
exactly.
and you can't like go 2 years in a relationship where you don't have any boundaries, and then all of a sudden you've got boundaries, and that person's like, well, what the,
Mm-hmm.
you know and that's another thing I do is like help people recognize like how to stick with your boundaries and follow through, because if you don't follow through and you keep letting people slide, then you're going to have the same problems again. Like you
Yeah,
really have to follow through, which is really difficult
it
because
is.
it means if they don't do this, then you're going to leave. You better leave.
Mm-hmm.
Like, stop threatening the divorce word, stop threatening that you're breaking up, stop threatening things that you're not going to follow through on.
Yeah. So, a little change of pace here. Do you have any
Yeah.
funny stories, or wild? I'm sure you do.
Okay.
Any stories that you'd like to share?
About my dating.
Yeah. Or anything that you'd like to share, whatever you're comfortable with.
I mean, I've heard a lot of dating stories. Like, my podcast, the Icky Lousy Junkie Life Showdown, is about bad dating choices and stuff like that. I've been lucky in that I don't really have any bad dating. Like, I've been on one bad date, like one really bad date in my entire life. And he was like, I knew it was going to be a bad date going in because he got to the bar and he immediately ordered a double rum and Coke and slammed it within like 5 minutes. And I'm like, okay,
Mm-hmm.
trouble, because this
Mm-hmm.
guy just slammed a double and then he ordered another double like within 10 minutes. So I'm like, shit, you know? And he kept going to the bathroom like every 10, 15 minutes was like in the bathroom. I don't know what he was doing, but exactly. Every time he came out, he was three sheets to the wind worse than he came in. Ordered another Bacardi. So like within 40 minutes, this guy's on a date with me. He's so wasted. He can't even like talk. He's trying to kiss me. And then finally I was like, dude, I'm not interested in you. I didn't feel safe. Like that wasn't, but I got him kicked off Bumble. Um, I was taken on a first date to a strip club. I would not suggest that.
That's an yeah.
That's an interesting choice.
I have no problems like with strip clubs. Like if
Mm-hmm.
I'm with somebody and they're like, "Hey, you want to go strip club?" Sure, I guess. But on a first date, I wouldn't suggest
Yeah,
it.
that's not a great place to get to know someone.
They got a
No,
really good buffet. Come on.
Right.
it's really weird. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm trying to think. Like,
That's
was
okay.
that
That's an odd choice. Yeah.
was
Like, what
that
was
that's
his
a weird
reason?
choice.
What was his reasoning behind it?
He just thought like. So at the time, I was like 22. I was a bartender. He's like, "Well, I thought you're a bartender. You're kind of fun. Da, 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 I'm gonna take you to this, take you to a strip club." I'm like, "Okay, all right, whatever."
Maybe he's
Um,
like, hey, My sister works there. We can get in half price.
Right? Yeah. Like, hey, I was trying to get you a lap dance. I wanted to see how I don't know what he was thinking, but like it was funny. We ended up being friends. Like we didn't date, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
I can't think of any like funny stories. Like I wish I had some funny stories, but like I've had weird stories like where one woman went on a date because she just like this guy promised her I can't remember like I can't remember what it was. She needed a ride. So she accepted a date and this guy like ended up breaking her vagina. Like this is one of the yeah, like it was a very strange story.
How?
I don't know how, just being very rough, like in the truck, like in the pickup truck, and but she really needed a ride. So like I remember she drove from like Colorado and I can't remember where she drove to. She's like, my vagina was broken. I'm like,
Oh
how
my
do you
God.
break your vagina?
I didn't know it could break.
He's probably telling
That's on
everyone.
one of our episodes.
He's like, I
Is
broke
it?
someone's vagina. Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm gonna find
yeah.
that episode.
Yeah, it's like probably season 4, and I can't even remember what her name was. I'd have to look it up. But she gave an entire thing about this dating this guy, and she just needed a ride from like one side,
Wow.
like one coast to the other. So she like took this date. It was just like ridiculous. It was about being a sugar baby because she decided she was just going to date someone for sugar. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And he ended up breaking her vagina.
Max wanted to be a sugar baby, so.
Yeah,
Who
there's
wouldn't
times
be?
where I'm
Save,
like,
move in her big house, take care of like
Mm-hmm.
whatever, you know.
let me tell
Wasn't
you, there's
wasn't
times I
me.
just want to like quit and become a trophy wife. There's
Yeah.
times that I want to do that, you know.
Mm-hmm. I would do that.
I mean, there's times I'm like, is there any 90-year-old? Maybe I don't know. Maybe the next 90-year-old client that comes into
Yeah.
me,
Be like, hey, I'll hang out with you.
I'll be like, what about me? You want me for a minute? Do you have kids? No, I'm just kidding. Can I be on your life insurance policy?
So, do you want to tell us a little bit about your book?
Sure. So my book is called Searching for Ladybugs: Finding the Magic in Your Mess. And I started writing it when I got divorced.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, I when I got divorced, I was like a shell of who I was, right? Like before I got divorced, I was an actress, I was a spitfire, just things along the way in my marriage. My husband, he's a good man, but he's was not good for me, you know.
Mm-hmm.
He was very controlling, like everything had to be his way. And I pretty much spent my entire marriage walking on eggshells. Like I never knew what I could do. Nothing I did was ever good enough. Like he knew I had an eating disorder growing up. From like 10 to 22, I had an eating disorder.
Mm-hmm.
I like sweets, whatever, but I've never been heavy, like heavy, but like I would eat a donut and he'd be like, should you eat that? Or like if I had
No.
a pop in the fridge, like if there was a 2 liter of Pepsi in the fridge, he'd be like, I poured that out. We didn't have room. Is there a reason why there's chips in this? I mean, it was just crazy. Like that's the kind of marriage I had. That was like, I just always felt like I was on eggshells. I
Mm-hmm.
wasn't doing anything right. Like if I tried holding his hand, he'd be like, we're not in high school.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like it was literally like, what am I doing? So when I got out of the relationship, I was just a shell of who I was. And I started taking courses to be a coach. And I started journaling and coaching myself basically out of, you know, these patterns,
Mm-hmm.
finding myself again. So I had, outside of my marriage, fallen in love with someone. Once I got divorced, he left me for somebody else. I was like crying to this guru from the bar that I was working at the time. And he just kind of looked at me and said, what do you do when you invite people to your house? And I was like, what? He's like, what do you do when you invite people to your house? And I said, I was like, I don't know. I clean my house. And he's like, exactly. He's like, Angela, you are a mess. If you look at yourself and envision yourself as a house, you're a mess. You can't bring anybody into your life until you clean up your mess. And so I wrote this book, and every chapter is kind of looking at my house and what boxes and furniture and everything else that I have in my house that I needed to get rid of. So like I had boxes of jealousy, boxes of resentment, anger, fear, like I had all these things. So every chapter is a different box that needed to be removed from my
Wow.
house. Yeah.
Yeah.
So like the book is about like removing these things that were keeping me from finding what I wanted. So, excuses, fear, your mindset, your perspective, health, all of the things that
Mm-hmm.
keeping you. So the
That's
book
why you
was
have
really
so
just
many
about,
boxes here,
I had a
Christina.
lot of boxes. I was pretty
You have a
full.
lot of boxes in the basement and the garage. Now it makes
Okay.
sense.
Okay.
See that?
I'll
No.
go.
Yeah. So the book is all about like what you have to remove in order to find, and I called it Searching for Ladybugs because are you familiar with the movie Under the Tuscan Sun?
Hmm.
Okay, so that was like one of my favorite movies. And of course, like divorced women, like it's so cliche, but like I was watching the movie one night and there's this scene where, Diane Lane is friends with this English woman who like just is a free spirit, and she's getting painted in the nude by her lover. And Diane Lane shows up at her house and she's all despondent because her house is like dilapidated and she's sad and all this stuff. And she's like being like playing a victim, and her friend's like, "Stop it, shut up." Her friend's like, "When I was a child, I used to run through the field searching for ladybugs, and I never found one." She's like, "And then one day I just fell asleep in the fields, and when I woke up, the ladybugs were all over me." And Diane Lane was like, "So?" And the woman's like, "So go home, clean your house, and forget about it." So the whole
Wow.
book is about you, like, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
for me, like the whole book is about like stop worrying about everything in the future.
Hmm.
Clean your house. Once you clean your house, the ladybugs will come.
Wow.
That's deep.
So
That's deep. That's insightful.
it's a lot. But like that's what the whole book is about. And that's like my coaching. So in my coaching, that's how I work with people. What do we need to remove in order for you to make room for what's new? Because in my school of thought, like transformation is a constant process of letting go. So if you need to bring something in, then you got to let go of something. There's something, if you're not getting it, then there's something you need to let go of.
Right.
Make room for that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when I coach people, that's kind of where I'm coming from. It's deep. Like I make people cry. That's my superpower. People are usually crying within the first 10 minutes. Like if they're in consultations with me, someone will cry all the time. All the time.
That's incredible though. Like you're
Deep.
changing lives.
It's pretty deep.
Yeah.
One ladybug at a time.
One ladybug, and ladybugs are known to be like good luck.
Right.
So if you look at like it's known to be like good fortune. So when you find a ladybug, that's
Well, thank you so much for taking the time to sit with us.
I have a question now. You're not going to like this because it gets a little bit political, but the way the political landscape is now and how people are just angry and stuff, before, I don't think it was a big deal. Have you seen kind of a shift? So if one person's very right and one person's very left, in the past, I think people would see past it, but now the way things kind of are happening.
No, it's really hard. Like the deal breakers now, like it's pretty intense. Yeah, the energy and stuff. It's funny because my ex-husband and I were very opposite politically, but like we could talk about it. I understood where he was coming from and he understood where we didn't break up because we didn't get divorced because of politics.
Right.
If it were now, we would have probably broken up because of politics. But like I never had to ask when I'm like matching, I never had to ask 6 years ago, 8 years ago, do you have political deal breakers? And now I have to ask that question. People are either like,
they do, yeah.
I cannot date a liberal. I will not date a Trumper. Like,
right.
Like it's okay. Like if they are MAGA, we're done. If they are this, we're done. Yeah. Like, it has gotten really heavy. The political, like people cannot have conversations anymore.
Yeah, it's true.
Especially like, and I don't think let me take that back. There are people who can have conversations, but I find as long as they're kind of moderate and like lean either way, like you've got like your fiscally conservative people and socially liberal. You've got like people who are moderate and kind of have voted both. I think those people, if they're extreme though, you will never be able to, just because fundamentally, I think there's differences. I think there's a fundamental difference.
It's a difference in values.
How people see, the difference of values and how people treat people or whatever, how people see people, I think. So it's become.
Yeah, I've noticed now with like last few years how it's just gotten crazy. I was like, I bet you that's a huge deal breaker now.
Huge. It was for me. I would not swipe right on people with a specific type. I don't like to talk about politics on here.
I don't either.
To escape.
I never say my politics. Like I never say my political like beliefs. I mean, sometimes people can see, but like, because I have to understand both sides. Like I have clients who are on both sides of the fence. So like I understand where they're coming from. But I know for me, I definitely wouldn't be able to date someone who has
Same.
certain views. I just can't.
Yeah.
That's just me. But like, that's a dating.
That's why he's like, you're not gonna like this.
I don't want to
Yeah.
get in it, but yeah,
Yeah.
it's a huge one. Yeah.
Anyway, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate the time.
Awesome. Yeah, thank
There's
you.
a lot more I want to talk about, so maybe we could have you on again at some point if you'd be open to that. Because I had a whole bunch of stuff, and I was like, yeah, it happens every time.
Yeah,
You
and
wanna
this
pull-
this topic goes on forever. I mean,
Right,
like,
right.
there's a bunch of stuff you can go at.
Yeah.
You want to
but-
plug like your dating coach and your making?
Yeah, I was gonna say, where can people find you?
So people can find me at anewchapterwithangela.com. My email is anewchapterwithangela@gmail.com. They can find me on Facebook at A New Chapter with Angela. They can find me on Instagram at A New Chapter with Angela, and LinkedIn at A New Chapter with Angela.
Awesome.
Anybody who goes to the website, there are free PDFs for couples and for singles. So if the singles want, there's a little free PDF with how to deal with online dating, and so some of the tips that you had asked about, like what to look for, that's in there. Free PDF if they sign up for that. And then for couples, there's 7 common mistakes we make in communication for couples.
Awesome. Well,
So
thank
they
you
get,
so
like,
much for sharing.
Value add. Yeah.
Yeah, cool. I'm gonna check.
Yeah, do it.
But yeah, I'd love to have you on talk a little bit more about the couple side of things, because like obviously as a couple with someone who's watching a football game while we're podcasting.
Sure. I mean, whatever.
Priorities.
Playoff
right?
time.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I'd love to talk more about more of that stuff.
Absolutely.
Do you want to plug your podcast? Because go ahead.
Sure, because I would love to have you guys on our podcast. So
That'd
that's
be great.
Icky Lousy Junkie Life Showdown, and that you can find that on, iTunes, Spotify, anywhere that podcasts are. So
Okay,
we've got
great.
that. So Icky Lousy Junkie Life Showdown. I never get it right, but there it is. I think I got it right this time. And we originally started, like in season 1, it was about bad life choices, and we would give advice. Now it's about bad dating stories.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah.
I listened to Bridget's episode, but I'm gonna have to go back and listen to more because I love stuff like that. Obviously.
Why did you? I love listening to I love it.
Yeah.
But thank you for having me.
Of course. Yeah, thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thank you. It was fun. I learned a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I sometimes feel like I could go on forever, so I do I'll
great.
just babble a little. I can
So much
I can talk
good
for
info.
hours.
Yeah, same.
It's a lot. But it's there's a lot to talk about. So,
There is. Well, thanks again, and
Thank you so much. Yeah.
we'll be in touch. We're gonna keep this part short.
That was good. I like that.
It was really good. I'm gonna get her book. It sounds really good. Like I really didn't know exactly what it was, but the more she explained about it, I'm like, oh my god, I need that. So we're recording on a Saturday, which we don't typically do, but it's when we could get Angela. So this will come out on the 22nd. It's a minute. Do you want to watch the rest of the game and then finish?
No.
Or
Well,
okay.
He's about to
as he
tie
looks
the
up.
game. Yeah, they're tying the game. It's only 10 seconds left. They're probably going to go to overtime. So we can finish up. It was good. I liked it.
I've been wanting to get someone like her on the show since we started.
But that's important when she talked, because I thought maybe as a dating coach that transitioned to the matchmaking, but that's important in her matchmaking that she also implements the dating coach thing, because I think that helps a lot of people.
I absolutely would have used someone like her had I not been successful in meeting you, because it sounds like she has a lot of really good insight and tips on how to change your behaviors, because it sounds like I don't know how many times I've heard this from my friends and from other people who are single, how they're like, it's just the same shit over and over and over, and they feel like every date ends up being the same, every guy ends up acting the same way, and it's like, you get stuck in a rut. How do you change that? You got to change something about how you're approaching things.
It's going overtime.
Talking to myself. Hi, Christina.
Oriole just got up, so I'm like, oh shit.
Can you go check? Pause for a second.
She's leaving.
Coming to me? Hi. Come here. Come say hi. Hey, guys. We're podcasting. We're podcasting right now. You're being very rude. Okay, can we finish our show? Can we finish our podcast, please? Okay, go lay down. Go lay down. Both of you. Go. Okay, I'm back. Do you want to join my conversation?
Yeah.
So, like, I think her information about being self aware, because I feel like a lot of people like to blame their issues with dating on other people when a lot of times
Yeah, it's easier.
it's them doing the same thing and expecting something different. Like, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. There are things that you're choosing and you're doing that are leading to the people you're meeting and the outcomes that you're having. So I feel like having someone like her who can point that out to you, because I feel like friends and stuff can do that too, but they're not experts in it. This dog's back.
I know.
I feel like having someone who's a professional in it and who has nothing to gain other than to help you date, I think it's a really like important resource that I had never even thought about using.
Out, and she can like kind of sense like what's holding you back and
Mhm.
stuff.
I feel like there's a lot of people who are very, especially recently, a lot of people are very just down about dating. They're very discouraged with apps. They're very discouraged with just like dating in general. So they don't want to put themselves out there. I think maybe talk to someone like Angela, and that could be really helpful in finding out what you want and what you're
like,
looking for.
I don't need to talk to people. Just like the people that don't think therapy is good for them,
Mhm.
they feel like it's a sign of weakness. So
Right. But like she's a life coach too. So even if it's not dating, if it's just you want to figure out what you're doing with yourself, I think she's a really like great resource. And I'm really bummed I didn't meet her sooner because I feel like I could have used her in life like before this. So luckily things worked out the way they did, and I don't need a dating coach, but I think she's a really useful resource to have. I'm glad that she was our first guest of the season because she was a great guest. I'm excited to potentially have her back because, like I said, I have a list of things I wanted to talk about, and we talked about like 2 of them. I definitely would love to have her back, and if you guys have questions for her, shoot us a question. We'll definitely send it her way. Yeah. You can find us on Instagram at NoDPicsPod, everywhere else at NoDickPicsPod. You can email us at NoDickPicsPod@gmail.com. If you're listening to us on any podcasting platform, make sure you follow us. If you're watching us on YouTube, make sure you subscribe. And yeah, we'll be back next week with another exciting episode of the No Dick Pics podcast.